Hey everyone, we are working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Did you just hear that? Did you hear that, man? Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears, stood up in front of a room full of reporters at Hallis Hall, was asked point blank about signing one of the most productive pass rushers still breathing in the NFL, a man he personally coached for a decade, and basically waved it off like somebody offered him a coupon for a restaurant he already ate at. We feel pretty good about what we have. Bro. The Chicago Bears finished second to last in pass rush win rate in the entire NFL last season. Second. Two. Last. And this man is out here at rookie minicamp acting like the defensive line room is stacked to the ceiling. What is going on in Lake Forest? What are they putting in the water out there? I'm Fave, this is Favs, and today we are going deep on the Chicago Bears and one of the most confusing, maddening, head-scratching offseasons any contending team has had in recent memory. Because make no mistake, the Bears are supposed to be a contender. Caleb Williams is the guy. Ben Johnson is the coach. They won the NFC North. They hosted a playoff game, and yet somehow, someway, the biggest weakness on their roster has gone almost entirely unaddressed, and the people in charge are standing at podiums telling us everything is fine. Everything is not fine. Let's get into it. Let's start at the very beginning, because context matters here. The Bears wrapped up last season having accumulated just 35 total sacks. 35. That ranked them tied for 22nd in the league, which sounds mediocre until you realize that was bunched with a cluster of teams, making Chicago effectively a bottom 20% pass rush operation in the NFL. According to ESPN, the Bears also finished with the second worst pass rush win rate in the entire league, sitting at a dismal 29%, and the fourth worst pressure percentage at 28%. Now I need you to sit with those numbers for a second. In a league where quarterbacks are better than they've ever been, where offensive linemen are bigger and smarter than they've ever been, the Bears were getting home on the quarterback at a rate that nearly led the entire league in futility. And Fave's personal take? That's not a scheme problem. That's not a will coach it better problem. That is a personnel problem. When your best defensive lineman, Montez Sweat, is drawing all the attention every single snap and still only gets to 10 sacks, and the guys beside him aren't close to carrying their weight, no amount of whiteboard sessions at Hallis Hall is going to fix that. Now here's where it gets particularly interesting. Before this offseason even started, there was a very logical, very obvious, almost poetic solution sitting right in front of the Bears. His name is Cameron Jordan, 8-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, a man with 132 career sacks and a Hall of Fame jacket already being custom-fitted in Canton. And more importantly for Chicago, a man who spent 10 of the best years of his career playing for Dennis Allen in New Orleans, where he posted double-digit sacks 5 separate times under Allen's defensive system. As reported by Heavy.com, Sports Illustrated insider Albert Breer floated the idea of a Jordan to Chicago reunion, noting that the fit was almost too good to ignore given Allen's familiarity with how Jordan operates. According to SpotRack projections, Jordan's market value heading into 2026 is approximately $6.8 million on a one-year deal. Let that marinate. $6.8 million. For a guy who put up 10.5 sacks, 15 tackles for loss, and 36 pressures last season at age 36, that's a rotation edge rusher who would have been second on the Chicago Bears in sacks, by himself, last season. So what does Dennis Allen say when he's asked about Cam Jordan at rookie minicamp? According to the Chicago Sun-Times, Allen said, and I'm going to read this slowly so it sinks in, "My experience with him was outstanding. Cam's going to be a Hall of Fame player. I don't know that there's been a ton of discussion about signing him. We feel pretty good about where we're at and what we have." And then he added, "You never know what opportunities might present themselves down the road." Fave's personal translation of that last sentence? That's coaches speak for maybe if the building is literally on fire, we'll make a call. Because everything about that statement screams that a Cam Jordan signing is not happening anytime soon in Chicago. And here's the part that truly broke my brain. This is a man who coached Cam Jordan for 10 years. He knows exactly what Jordan brings. He knows his motor, his technique, his leadership, his ability to collapse a pocket. And he's standing there saying, we feel good about what we have, with Deo Odeyingbo and Shamar Turner as your answer. Let that sentence exist in the universe. Now let's talk about Deo Odeyingbo, because Ryan Poles and Dennis Allen have both expressed confidence in this man, and I genuinely need someone to explain that to me using small words. Odeyingbo is a $48 million investment for the Bears. That is the contract. And in his last 17 healthy games, a full season's worth of football, the man had one sack. One. That sack came in Week 1 against Minnesota's backup tackle because Christian Darrisaw was injured. So the Bears' best-case scenario with Odiangbo is that he stays healthy, which he hasn't been able to do consistently, and that he maybe gives you something close to what a league-average edge defender provides. And by the way, he has now torn 2 Achilles tendons in his career. Whether it's both feet or the same one twice, that is a catastrophic injury history. Fave's personal opinion? You cannot bank your pass rush on a player with that injury resume who has shown almost nothing in terms of pass rush production in over a year of action. That is not a projection anymore. That is a demonstrated reality. And the Bears are looking at that man and saying, yeah, he might be our edge rusher too. But wait, it gets better, or worse, depending on your perspective. There's also Shemar Turner. The Bears drafted Turner in the second round of the 2025 draft to play defensive tackle, then moved him to defensive end because the defensive tackle experiment wasn't clicking. And then he tore his ACL in Week 8 before they even got a full picture of whether the position switch would work. As reported by Heavy.com, Turner appeared in just 5 games in 2025, totaling 74 snaps and recorded 6 tackles and 2 tackles for loss. Now, to Turner's credit, that's not nothing. And the Bears believe in his potential at the edge, but calling him a foundational piece of your pass rush in 2026 is an enormous leap of faith from an organization that needs production, not potential. And let's not forget, he missed most of his pre-draft preparation coming out of Texas A&M due to a foot injury, missed time during his rookie year with the ankle issue, and then tore his ACL when they finally moved him to his natural position. So in a lot of ways, 2026 is genuinely his first real season. That's a rookie. You're leaning on a functional rookie as a key part of your pass rush on a supposed contender. Now, here's where Dennis Allen actually said something that deserves genuine credit, and I want to give it to him before I go back to being annoyed. Because at that same rookie minicamp press conference, as reported by Bleacher Nation and ESPN's Courtney Cronin, Allen did something coaches almost never do. He put the blame on himself. He acknowledged that the Bears spent so much time in year 1 installing the scheme, which is a high-volume, complex defensive system, that they lost sight of the fundamentals and individual techniques required to execute it. He said, and I'm paraphrasing closely per reporting from Bleacher Nation, the plan going forward is to minimize the emphasis on scheme and instead focus on how the players do things rather than what they're going to do. That's actually a smart coaching philosophy. That is genuine self-awareness. And coming from a coordinator with Allen's experience, a guy whose defense is ranked top 10 in points per game allowed in each of his last 4 full seasons calling plays in New Orleans, that kind of humility carries weight. But here's Fave's problem with that narrative. Coaching better is a ceiling raiser, not a floor fixer. If your best pass rusher opposite Montez Sweat maxes out at 10 sacks with better coaching, terrific. But you still need bodies. You still need talent that can win one-on-ones without needing a perfect scheme call. And that's the crux of the issue. The Bears are essentially betting that health plus better coaching equals adequate pass rush, when the math just doesn't add up. According to reporting from Kai City Sports, Ben Johnson himself threw a subtle flag at the situation, suggesting the Bears' improved secondary coverage, which was a priority in the draft with first-round pick Dylan Pieneman, would give the defensive line more time to get home on the quarterback. That's a real strategy. Cover-first schemes can absolutely generate more sacks. But as the same report noted, the Bears had a secondary full of backups last season, and that group still helped carry them to the NFC divisional round. So if the secondary was already performing, and the pass rush was still bottom 5 in the league, what exactly does improving the secondary solve? Let me give you the full picture of what Chicago's edge rushing options look like right now, because it's important. According to reporting from Heavy.com, the Bears are currently rolling into 2026 with Montez Sweat, Dayo Odiangbo, Austin Booker, and Shemar Turner as their primary 4 edge rushers. That's the group. No draft pick at defensive end. They used their 6 picks on a safety in round 1, offensive players in rounds 2 and 3, and defensive players elsewhere without touching defensive end, until the 6th round where they grabbed an interior lineman. No significant free agency addition. The only edge rusher adjacent move they made, according to Heavy, was a 2-year extension for Daniel Hardy, a player whose primary role is on special teams. Fave's personal reaction to that information? Hardy is a good special teamer. He should absolutely be retained. But that's not your answer to finishing second to last in pass rush win rate. Now, the one genuine wild card in all of this is Austin Booker. I'll give him his flowers because he earned them. He had 4.5 sacks in limited action during a regular season, then tacked on 2 more in the playoffs. That's real production. He's young, he's got an athletic profile that excites people, and the Bears clearly view him as the long-term answer opposite Sweat. But even in the best-case scenario, let's say Booker takes a massive year 3 leap and hits 10 sacks. That's still not enough. You want 10 from Booker, 10 from Sweat, and then what? You need that third edge rusher, the rotation guy, the guy who comes in on passing downs and collapses a pocket. That's exactly what Cam Jordan was projected to be. Or Calais Campbell, who, as reported by Cheese City Sports, still posted 6.5 sacks in 2025 at 40 years old with the Arizona Cardinals and hasn't missed a game since 2022. These aren't geriatric charity cases. These are Hall of Fame caliber players who would have been second on the Bears' sack total last year all by themselves, at a price point that wouldn't break the cap. And the cap situation? Let's address that, because people love to say, well, they don't have the money. According to reporting from Over the Cap via Heavy.com, the Bears had approximately $11.3 million in cap space coming out of the draft. Yes, they need to sign their draft class and build out a practice squad, which will eat into that. But as multiple analysts have pointed out, Cam Jordan's projected market value is under $7 million on a one-year deal. Calais Campbell would likely cost even less. These are not franchise-altering commitments. Fave's personal math says 6 or 7 million on a proven veteran edge rusher who won't need a 2-year developmental runway is one of the most efficient investments a contending team can make. You're not signing him to be your franchise cornerstone. You're signing him to be the heat that keeps opposing offensive coordinators from just leaving the tackle on an island and ignoring everyone else. That presence alone changes what Booker and Sweat can do. And by the way, this isn't even a Bears-specific observation. As reported by NBC Sports Pro Football Talk, the Bears' public stance has been consistent. They like their group, they believe in development and coaching, and they're leaving the door open for future moves without committing to anything. That's a perfectly reasonable organizational approach if you're, say, rebuilding. But the Bears aren't rebuilding. They're supposed to be building on a divisional championship. They have Caleb Williams entering year 3 with arguably the best receiver core he's had around him and a legitimate NFC North contender schedule. The window is right now, not in 2 years when Shamar Turner figures it out. Let's zoom out for a second, because I also want to be fair to what the Bears are trying to accomplish here. There is a version of this story where their plan works, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's impossible. If Dennis Allen simplifies the scheme just enough to let his linemen play fast and win in one-on-ones rather than thinking their way through assignments, the unit gets better. If Dayo Odiengbo comes back healthy from his Achilles and recaptures even a portion of his 2023 form, that's a meaningful contributor. If Shamar Turner takes to defensive end the way Ben Johnson's early quotes suggested he could, you have a legitimate rotational piece. And if Austin Booker puts it all together and becomes the edge rusher the Bears have hoped he'd be, suddenly you're looking at a unit that went from bottom 5 to maybe bottom 3rd. That's still not great, but it's growth. As Ben Johnson himself said, as reported by NBC Sports, creating more pressure is a point of emphasis for 2026. They know the problem. They're not delusional. They're just choosing to solve it internally first. But here's the kicker. The Bears' own medical staff has to know that both Odiengbo and Turner may not be fully ready for training camp. Coming off a torn Achilles and a torn ACL respectively, those are not quick heal injuries. Those are minimum 6 to 9 month recoveries that frequently carry residual effects well into a player's return year. So even if the Bears are right that their group has upside, there is a very real scenario where the most optimistic version of their plan is undermined before a single pad-wearing practice rep occurs. And when you have a Hall of Famer available in free agency for under $7 million who played his best football under your defensive coordinator, the risk calculus becomes very difficult to justify. Fave doesn't understand it. I've tried. I've read every article, watched every press conference, done the math. And it keeps coming back to, why not add him? The comparisons that keep getting floated are instructive. According to reporting from Chai City Sports, other veteran edge rushers still available include names like Jadeveon Clowney, who has a history of waiting until late in the offseason to sign, and others who could plug into a rotation role without demanding starter-level snaps or money. The Bears tried to acquire Max Crosby from Las Vegas, but as multiple outlets reported, the Raiders wanted 2 first-round picks in return. That's a reasonable place to draw the line. You don't gut your draft capital for an aging pass rusher on a big contract. That's a different conversation entirely. But there's a massive gap between give up 2 first-rounders for Max Crosby and give Cam Jordan 6 or 7 million for 1 year. The Bears seem to be treating those 2 options as equally extreme when they could not be more different in terms of risk and commitment. What's particularly wild to me is that the Bears did address their secondary in meaningful ways. Dylan Thieneman out of Oregon was their first-round pick, and by all accounts at minicamp, as reported by the official Chicago Bears website, the kid was impressive, always around the ball, high instincts, the kind of safety who makes a defense better just by being on the field. That's a smart pick. Malik Muhammad in the fourth round at corner was widely praised as one of the better value selections in the entire draft. They improved the back seven. They did that. But while they were doing that, Cam Jordan, Calais Campbell, Clowney, and others were sitting in free agency collecting dust. And the Bears' response has been essentially, we'll see. Fave's opinion, we'll see, is not a plan. We'll see is what you say when you don't have an answer and you're hoping the question goes away. Here is my final word on this, and I want to be careful not to come across as a doomer because I genuinely believe in what this Bears team can be. Caleb Williams is 23 years old and should be entering his prime. Ben Johnson is one of the most innovative offensive minds in the game. The wide receiver room is legitimately scary. The back seven on defense is improved. If the offense carries them the way it's capable of, the Bears can absolutely win the NFC North again. But Super Bowl windows are rare. They are precious. They do not stay open forever. And right now, in May of 2026, the Chicago Bears have a glaring, documented, statistically confirmed weakness at a position that matters enormously in the modern NFL. And the answer they're providing is, trust us, we'll coach it better. With all due respect to Dennis Allen, and I do think he's a legitimate coordinator who has shown the ability to build elite defenses, coaching better is not the same thing as having a Cam Jordan on your defensive line. Coaching better won't give you the residual pressure that comes from an opponent game planning around a 10-sack threat on the field. Coaching better is great. It's also not enough. The Bears had a chance to be proactive. Instead, they chose to be patient. And the difference between those two things, on a team with Super Bowl ambitions, could be the difference between January football and February football. Fave's verdict? This is a mistake. Not a franchise-ending catastrophe, not a reason to panic and throw the whole offseason in the trash, but a genuine mistake that could haunt them when the weather turns cold and they're sitting on 3rd and 7 against a Patrick Mahomes or a Jared Goff with a clean pocket, because Odeyingbo is still working his way back and the Bears couldn't get home. History will be the judge. But right now, today, the receipts do not look good. If you made it this far, you already know what time it is. Smash that like button. Not a gentle tap, I mean you press that thing like you're mad about this defensive line too. Because you should be. Drop in the comments, do you think the Bears are making a mistake by not signing a veteran pass rusher? Or do you trust Dennis Allen and the plan? I want the debate in the comments. Bears fans, haters, neutral observers, all of you, get in there. And if you are not subscribed to Favs yet, what are you doing with your life? This is where the real conversations happen. No filter, no corporate talking points, just the truth about what's happening in the NFL. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and we will see you in the next one. Let's go.